I call this May 6, 2025 Planning and Zoning regular meeting to order at 7 p.m. Please silence your devices. Commissioner Charbonneau, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Yes. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is roll call. Deputy Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Okay. Roll call for tonight's meeting. Hartseth is excused. Charbonneau?
Here.
Hubbard?
Here.
Sullivan's excused. Pemberton?
Here.
Verhey?
Here.
And Chair Griswold.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. At this time, I would like the consensus of the Commission to allow Commissioner Charbonneau to serve as acting Vice Chair for this meeting in the absence of Vice Chair Hornseth. Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is public comments on any subject except those items scheduled for a public hearing. We have 3 public hearings coming up, including 2 preliminary plats and a conditional use permit. Deputy Clerk, is anyone signed in to speak?
No, there is not.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak? Okay. Then I will close the public comments. Next on the agenda is the approval of the agenda and consent agenda. I need a motion to approve and a second.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda and consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Thank you very much. Are there any changes to the agenda and consent agenda?
No.
Okay. Deputy Clerk, please take the roll call vote.
Voting on the approval of the agenda and consent agenda. Verhey?
Yes.
Pemberton?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Charbonneau?
Yes.
And Chair Griswold.
Yes.
The consent agenda and approved consent agenda are approved, and on that agenda is April 8th, 2025 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting minutes, and that is it.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is special orders, presentations, and reports. There are no proclamations or awards. So next is the city administration report. Would the administration like to give a report?
Yeah, thank you, Chair Griswold. Our main one is we just want to give a huge shout out to everyone who participated in the comprehensive plan town hall workshops. Felt that was a pretty big success. We had over 100 people show up between the 3 evenings and contribute their voice to the update of the comprehensive plan. And so, yeah, I was really happy with that turnout. I want to thank Shelley and Blair, who are the 2 consultants that worked on the project with us, and they're currently right now working on consolidating the feedback from those workshops. Our next step is to try and get some of the younger voices on the record, and so we've reached out to a few teachers at the middle and high school. I'm not sure if we'll be able to get into the high school before the end of the year, but we do have a day set up to go into the middle school and kind of just get some of that younger feedback, so what they like and don't like about Seward, and kind of more the visionary aspect for them. And so, yeah, curious to see how that goes. We have a substitute taught in the middle school for many years, and so it can be challenging there, but looking forward to getting back in there. And this will be the last meeting we can plug the surveys, because they do close at the end of the month. And so if you're listening, they've been out all winter, so hopefully it's not a surprise to people, but we're just shy of 350 responses on that first visionary survey, and so pretty pleased with those results as well. But May 31st is when those will close. And yeah, and so the surveys and the workshops are just 2 of the pieces that I use in formulating the comprehensive plan, that draft plan. And so one of our summer projects will be to analyze the final survey data once it closes, combine that with the feedback that we've received from the workshops, and find some sort of manner to just present that information to the commission and the public as well. So looking forward to delving into that this winter. I do want to let anyone who's looking for a job know that our administrative assistant position is open, and I think it was posted today on the city's website. And so feel free to look into that and reach out to our office if you have any questions on that. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Next is other reports and announcements. There are none. And there are no presentations. Moving along, the next on the agenda is public hearings. First on the agenda is a public hearing for Resolution 2025-016, starting on page 12 of the packet. Deputy Clerk, would you please read the title into the record?
Resolution 2025-016 of the Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Seward, Alaska, recommending Kenai Peninsula Borough approval of the preliminary plat of 606 First Avenue, vacating the interior lot lines of 3 adjacent lots and creating 2 new lots to be known as lots 23A and 25A, originally Seward Town Site Nielsen replat.
Thank you. Does any commissioner need to declare a conflict of interest on this resolution? I would just like to mention that the applicants are friends, but I believe I can participate without bias. May I have unanimous consent to participate?
Yes.
Yes. The same.
Mm-hmm.
Do I need to ask for unanimous consent?
Yes. And
Okay.
Commissioner Hubbard also
Yes.
declared she is friends, but believes she can participate
Yes.
without bias. Do we all agree?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. It's tough in a small town.
It happens.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve? Please raise your hand.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2025-016.
Is there a second? Please raise your hand. Commissioner Verhey? Yes, okay. Would the administration please provide a short summary?
Yes, thank you, Chair Griswold. On page 20 of the packet, you'll see the proposed preliminary plat for this property. It is 3,000 square foot lots owned by the same owner. And they're removing the existing lot lines between those 3 lots and placing 1 lot line in there, so dividing the land into just 2 4,500 square foot lots. On the following page, you'll see the as-built for the property. There is an existing single-family home on the property that will now fit within the southern 4,500 square foot lot. For those of you familiar with the property, there is a greenhouse on the lot that encroaches into lot 25A, the northern lot, but it is planned to be removed from the property and will need to be removed before anything could be built on lot 25A.
Very good. Any questions for administration?
No.
Okay. I will now open the public hearing. Deputy Clerk, is anyone signed in to speak?
There is no one signed in.
Would anyone from the audience wish to speak on this public hearing topic? Please come forward. State your name for the record, and if you live inside or outside city limits.
My name is Kenneth Lang.
Oh,
Excuse
hi.
me. I'm outside the city limits at Lowell Point. I'm representing the petitioners this evening, and there isn't a whole lot to talk about in this case. It's 3 lots, we're making it into 2 lots, everything will conform, but I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. I believe the packet was well done, the survey was well done, and we
Thank you.
appreciate your coming in to represent the applicants. Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak? Okay, hearing none, I will now close the public hearing. For the record is now closed and no further comments or records will be accepted. Would the mover like to comment? And then the seconder.
Yeah, as the representative for the applicant mentioned, everything's pretty much complies with this. We're pulling 2 lines and creating 1. I think it's pretty straightforward.
And Commissioner Verhey?
Yep, I would agree.
Okay.
Simple.
Any other comments from the other commissioners?
I agree.
I was wondering if the neighboring property going north, if that, is that also has the potential to be 3 lots? Or was it originally 3 lots? That's not on the table, but I'm just curious about density and area and what the potential is.
Are you referring to the lot that is north of this entire plat?
Yeah, it's on the corner there. It's just north.
Okay.
I'm just curious. It's not this particular issue, but I was just curious.
I think we're delving into how.
Streets.
Yeah.
That's not what we're talking about.
Yeah, and I can look that up for you later though,
Okay,
for other
all right.
information.
Okay, are we ready to call for the vote? Deputy City Clerk, would you please take the roll call vote?
Okay. Voting on Resolution 2025-016, Verhey,
Yes.
Pemberton,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Charbonneau,
Yes.
and Chair Griswold.
Yes.
This resolution has been approved.
Next on the agenda is a public hearing for Resolution 2025-017, starting on page 24 of the packet. Deputy Clerk, will you please read the title into the record?
Yes, Resolution 2025-017 of the Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Seward, Alaska, recommending City Council and Kenai Peninsula approval of the preliminary plat of 1000 Hemlock Avenue, 2500 Laurel Street, 2405 Seward Highway, and 2413 Seward Highway, exchanging an equal portion of city-owned land with privately owned land and vacating interior lot lines to create 2 new parcels to be known as Tracts 5B-1 and 5B-2, Forest Acres Subdivision, Seward Gateway Properties.
Thank you. Does any commissioner need to declare a conflict of interest on this resolution?
No.
No.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to approve? Please raise your hand.
I make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Would the administration please provide a short summary?
Yes, thank you. So page 30 shows a property map with the 4 parcels that are going to be replatted, and then page 36 shows the proposed preliminary plat. But I've also provided a laydown on the dais for all the commissioners as well as for the public, which shows the breakdown a little bit easier to see what this replat will create. So essentially it's taking 4 properties, 2 owned by the city, the snow dump, and then the parcel along Hemlock Avenue that is used to access the snow dump, and then 2 properties privately owned along the Seward Highway. And exchanging, if you look at the laydown, exchanging that the northwestern auto commercial triangle portion that's privately owned with the city triangular portion on the corner of Hemlock and Seward. So those are the 2 pieces of land that are being exchanged in this replat. And this laydown also kind of shows the rezoning issues that we will address at the following meeting to clean up all of these split zonings that this replat causes. But you'll remember that we had a discussion a few months ago now about this land swap with the property owners, and so it has been approved by the city council and city manager, and this is now coming forward to us for the final approval of the actual boundaries for the properties.
Does anyone have clarifying questions for administration?
No.
Okay. I will now open the public hearing. Deputy Clerk, is there anyone signed in to speak?
Yes, you have one, Jim McCracken.
Okay. Would you please approach the table, state your name for the record, and whether you live inside or outside city limits? You have 5
My name is Jim
minutes.
McCracken, and yes, I live out of town, and yes, I'm responding to a letter that was written to me. I'm very encouraged that things like this would happen to help the real estate things move around town a little bit. This trading or exchanging a sliver for a sliver is quite encouraging for me. I do have some serious questions regarding the preliminary plat, and I think I'm requesting that it be amended. And that would be on Laurel Street. Laurel Street is the dividing line there. And for requesting an easement from Laurel Street straight south to Hemlock. Now this utility easement is because in this documents, it states that a subdivision ordinance is going to be agreed to, and that's going to run the utilities east along Hemlock. This would allow, if there's a utility easement that runs 90 degrees to Hemlock, it would allow the utilities to be hooked up to that for future development.
May I ask a clarifying question?
Absolutely.
So this just to understand, this with the cul-de-sac is Laurel Street.
Correct.
And it hooks up to Juniper.
Yes.
And you received a letter that said utilities will be run along Hemlock?
No, it's in your document, ma'am.
Okay, so utilities will be run along
Yes,
Hemlock?
yes.
And you would like to amend the
Yes.
plat to say,
The
repeat,
utility easement, it would
Utility
follow the
easement.
center line of Laurel Street, straight to Hemlock.
okay,
And the reason for that is, on the documents that I don't know if staff provided you with, let me put my cheaters on so I can get a good number for you. 2012-17 plat, and there's also Planning Commission Resolution 2019-25. This is when the city acquired all that property in there. And at that time, when the meetings were held, we discussed, and there was a large easement section was built in on the north side of Lot PP, on the east side of PP, and on the north side of XX that would tie it into the cul-de-sac at the end of Laurel Street. I don't know if you were provided that document or not. But this would allow the utilities to flow around that and to go back out to Hemlock. And it, primarily sewer, because sewer doesn't run uphill without expensive pumps.
good point. I would like to take the chair's liberty to ask administration why utility easement wasn't provided along Laurel Street. Seems like that would be fairly standard to have a utility easement.
Yeah, I don't have that answer for you right now. I'd have to talk to the Public Works Director and see why that decision was made.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant?
Not for the applicant, administration.
Okay.
So
Okay.
just to be clear, we're trading this here for this. This,
Right, sliver for sliver.
yeah, and we have a utility easement that we should be responsible to here.
That's what we're
Is
talking
what,
There should be one. Generally, plats have a 10-foot utility easement all around the perimeter, in my experience.
And they believe Mr. McCracken was wanting to extend it down so it matches that, where there isn't one here currently.
is there anything here?
There should be, yes, because it's a plat
We
street.
should get on a utility easement, or,
Yeah.
well, there's no utilities there yet, right?
So, just for clarification,
Yes.
so everybody can, all the public, you're proposing that the easement, which would be originally like down Laurel Street and then turn and come back down Hemlock, instead of doing this hard turn, you're requesting that the easement comes straight down
Yes.
to
Exactly.
not have to put in 3 or 4 more extra poles to do the corner.
And also the elevation's different.
Okay. And does that make that clear? Okay. Thank you.
And the utility easement.
Yes.
And they come in various sizes. The utility easements that I relayed on Lot PP and Lot XX, it was in the preliminary, the plat that was approved on that, they're 50 feet wide.
Whoa.
One is 60 feet wide.
That's like a right of way, that's like a road.
It must
No, it's-
include a
it's-
sewer.
It clearly states the utility easement
Yeah, I can see it right there.
on plat on 212-17. Yes.
Big one.
And why that one, Rhonda, the way that one was a little bit wider at 60 feet because it tied into the cul-de-sac at the end of Spruce Street, and that's where the sewer comes down from up the hill and ties into a manhole there in that cul-de-sac there, and then it runs south along Spruce Street.
I know over at Spring Creek, there's a 50-foot wide utility easement to accommodate sewer line. And also in Clearview, there's a large utility easement. Well, any other questions for the applicant? Or, I mean, the public? Public?
Nothing.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and
Appreciate
that
that.
easement then hopefully would allow water, sewer, and power.
Yeah.
I mean, when this is on the table, it'd be easier to make the dotted line and put it in than to visit on it 3 years from now or whatever, something like that. Appreciate it.
Thank you. What are the wishes, oh wait, does anyone else wish to speak on this? Okay, I will now close the public hearing. The record is now closed and no further comments or records will be accepted. Would the mover like to comment and then the seconder? Who was the mover? I forget.
Pemberton.
Commissioner Pemberton, do you have any comments on this?
Well, I think until we have more information, we really shouldn't make a decision on it. And until we can look at whether or not we can make this change. But without more information, I think it's safe to say I would feel like not making a decision on it until we can.
Would the Public Works Director be available at this time?
He's out.
No,
Yeah,
he's
He's gone?
getting a knee replacement, so this week.
He has a good excuse.
Yeah.
Okay. And were you the seconder?
No.
No, I was.
You were. What do you think?
So I guess I want to have a question and talk to administration. So I guess there's two ways to go. I see two ways to go about this. We can wait on this, postpone it to talk with Public Works, because I would probably like to speak with them before just slapping in an easement across there in case they had some sort of plan. But also, I don't really want to, if this other tract is time sensitive, I don't want to hold it up. So the administration, is this, if we postpone this now, is it going to hold up something in the future? Or would it be better to go ahead with this and put the easement in later, you know, keeping this project moving on?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, I'm not sure the timeline with the developers who would receive that tract of land. I do know that Doug and Public Works have been the city's lead in the negotiations with the swap, and so I would assume there's a reason that utility extension has not been in there. So yeah, I would hesitate to include that without talking to Doug first. And so yeah, I could see either way with it. I mean, that piece of land really doesn't have a whole lot to do with the two pieces that are being swapped, which is the main purpose of this resolution. But if the commission feels more comfortable holding off, we can definitely do some.
Well, as is, if we do pass this right now and they do want to put power down there, it can still be done. It's just going to cost the city more money to make a corner instead of cutting straight across. So if we pass this now, we're not hamstringing us into getting power there, it's just costing more money. So if their Public Works later decides that, hey, we could save money, let's put an easement in there, we can always do that. Or we can postpone it. But we can always put another easement down through the
But
city
it's
land.
costing the city more money to do that. If
put
we
the
have to
easement
do
in?
it after the fact. If we have something else, if we put something else in and then we add something on top of that, that's what I'm hearing you saying. It's like here's two pieces of paper instead of one. There's this one piece of paper as the easement, and then wait a minute, we approved this and it went through. Now we want to add this, and that's two pieces of paper.
So can the city come in and do eminent domain? They just come in and say, oh, by the way, even though we've traded this out and this is your property and that's our property now, but by the way, we need to get access.
No, the city would still own
No.
that land.
We're just putting the easement across our own land.
Yeah, that's not part of the land that's being
Yeah,
swapped out.
So this is, we're, the
Oh, I thought we were-
public.
I thought we were taking this and that we
No.
were giving up this.
We're gonna keep this here and this.
Oh,
will
this
be-
whole
yes.
piece here. Okay, got
So
it. Yeah,
the
just
question is, should we
okay.
at this moment postpone this to talk with Doug? Or should we put an easement across our own property? But I don't wanna put an easement across our own property without talking to Doug.
Yeah, you're
I
right.
think we should postpone it then.
Would you like to make a motion?
Can I say
Hold
one
on.
thing?
Sorry.
There's a third option, is
Okay.
because this involves city-owned land,
Mhm.
this will not go straight to the borough like the previous resolution did. So this will go to city council next, and so
True.
if you feel good with the land swap piece and want to approve this and direct us to make sure Doug and city council have that information before it goes to the city council approval, we can do that as well.
I think the land swap is a good idea. I mean, we've been working on this for a while. So I think we're all in consensus with that. The question is whether City Works wants to, put this in or not. And I think City Works needs to figure that out. So I would like to just go for it right now, pass it, and then have council, when it comes to council, Public Works can amend it then.
Okay, yeah.
That's where I'm
So to
hesitant.
clarify, you don't want to add a condition that council deal with the easement?
Yeah, I just want
Okay.
to go forward with it now,
Okay.
and if Public Works wants it, they can get it in when it goes to council.
Well,
Because I don't want to hold up anything.
I agree and trust that the community development will pass the word along from our constituents as well. So.
I like that idea that we move this along to council because it is city property and council has to approve it before it goes to the borough for final approval. And that will give the neighbor, the public, another opportunity and information from Public Works Director to make a really good decision. And I'd like to point out, the property here that is served by Laurel Street was rezoned to multifamily. So this whole project does impact the development of this property. And so it's really important not to make that an island of no utility easement. Any further discussion?
I like I could go with the idea, but only if we can include something stating that to make sure that the city and that the city council look into what Mr. McCracken said versus what we have on the paper.
We can have administration pass along to City Works.
Unless you would like to make a motion to amend, to add a recommendation.
I think I'd be more comfortable making a motion to amend
Okay.
it.
Would you like to craft that amendment?
I make a motion to amend my motion to state that the city will, I don't know, I need to have words
Right,
here.
we can maybe help you a little bit.
That the city council will be made aware of the situation as to where it's ran now and where it could benefit others by being run. That's the way I see it.
Okay, let's
But you can fix it.
let's work that over just a little bit. So we would like to amend this resolution to state that the city council as you said, will be made aware of utility easement concerns raised by the public. Is that?
Okay. So I think they need to be made aware in this motion so that they are aware when they look at it to make a decision or not make a decision.
So you would like to make an amendment to state that the city council will be made aware of utility easement concerns raised by the public. Okay. Do I have a second for that?
I'll second.
Okay, discussion? Any
I
further discussion?
I almost feel like I want to go out of order and ask the person that just spoken, ask him to help, see if that's the exact wording that we should have.
Would the commission like to suspend the rules?
Yes, I would.
I don't think we need to. I think we can just have administration tell the Public Works to look into this. I think it's pretty simple. I don't know if we need to create a lot of extra.
I just wasn't sure if it was worded right.
Basically, just trying to, we want Public Works to look at this and say, do you want an easement across there to save money later? Or are you okay with where the easements are? Because we're not creating an island with no utilities. There are easements to there. It's just a much quicker way to put one across that little triangle. And I feel like that's Public Works. It's their decision to figure out if that's where they want to do it and what their plan is. We're here just to discuss this land swap and whether that's a good idea.
Okay, well, as long as we're aware of what Mr. McCracken had said.
I think it's a fantastic idea, but I think Public
Well,
Works needs to look into it.
This is a motion on the floor, and so if we're done with discussion, we proceed with the vote. I would say that this amendment does no harm. Just make sure that that the public's concerns have been heard by the commission, and we're passing that on to council. So I feel there is no harm in adding this. Are we ready to call for the vote? Deputy Clerk, would you please do the roll call on this amendment?
Sure. Voting on the amendment for Resolution 2025-017 to amend this resolution to state that the City Council will be made aware of the utility easement concerns raised by the public.
Thank you.
Pemberton?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Verhey?
Yes.
Charbonneau?
Yes.
And Chair Griswold.
Yes.
That amendment has been approved. Now we're back to the main motion.
Okay. Are there any amendments to the main motion? Okay. Any further discussion on the motion as amended? Okay. Deputy Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Voting on Resolution 2025-017 as amended. Pemberton?
Yes.
Charbonneau?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Verhey?
Yes.
And Chair Griswold.
Yes.
That resolution has been approved.
The next public hearing is Resolution 2025-018, starting on page 42 of the packet. Deputy Clerk, would you please read the title into the records?
Resolution 2025-018 of the Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Seward, Alaska, granting a conditional use permit to Morningstar Ventures LLC to construct a fourplex at 2018 Dunham Drive within a multi-family residential R3 zoning district. This is a quasi-judicial hearing. Commissioners may not discuss any items pertaining to this resolution with the applicant, other commissioners, or the public.
Thank you. This is a quasi-judicial matter, and I would like to declare that I have shopped at the property owner's business for decades, and I have hired the builder to work on my house many years ago. I feel I can discuss and vote on this CUP without bias. I ask for unanimous consent by the commission.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Does any other commissioner need to declare a conflict of interest on this resolution?
No.
Okay. Then we move on to, I would like to state that I'm familiar with this subdivision and have driven Dunham Drive many times. I have not visited the area or the site in the past month or longer. I have not communicated with anyone on this matter. I ask for unanimous agreement by the commission that I have not had ex parte contact.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Does any other commissioner need to declare ex parte communication or a site visit for this resolution?
I have driven by there. I walk up there with my dogs a lot. I've watched it develop. I even thought about purchasing property up there. And I had crossed paths with the neighbor at the comprehensive plan meetings, and they had said they're looking to expand, but we didn't discuss it or talk about any viewpoints, yay or nay on it. So
Do you feel you can participate without bias?
Yes.
Okay, I rule that you are eligible to participate. Would the administration please provide a short summary of this issue?
Yes, thank you, Chair Griswold. So this property at 2018 Dunham Drive does have an existing duplex. But the way the resolution is worded is that it will be a CUP to allow the construction of a fourplex because the property owner is adding another 2 units to the current duplex, so there will be a total of 4 units. The existing duplex has 2 units with 3 bedrooms each, and the new proposed additional 2 units would only be 1 bedroom each, so that requires 9 parking spaces, which you'll see on the site plan. Also, on page 47, which has the resolution, under section 2, you'll see the list of requirements that are being proposed for this conditional use permit.
Thank you. Would the applicant or representative wish to speak on the conditional use permit to build a fourplex in a multifamily residential zoning district?
I'm here if you have questions, but I have nothing to say.
Okay, thank you. You have 10 minutes. Well, would the commission like to ask any questions of the applicant? Will any, go ahead.
I noticed in the applicant, is the intended use mainly to house some of his employees for the year-round? Or-
Excuse me, if we're going to talk to the applicant, Phil, you need to come up to the table. State your name, in and out.
I'm Phil Zimmerman. I live in Bear Lake Road.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's all, what Mark's looking to do is house long-term people to work at his store.
Okay.
That's the moral of that story.
Short and sweet.
Mhm.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I have one. I talked to Courtney about this, but I know you're up there building a lot of places, and so a place like that, could it at some point, or have you thought about doing any HOAs up there and making some of the units, including that one at some point?
Rhonda?
That's
That's off topic.
Oh,
We have to focus on, shall this conditional use permit be allowed to have a fourplex on multifamily property?
well, I was getting at intended use, so I don't know if that has.
Employee housing? Yeah,
There's future.
yeah, I don't think we can address future,
Can't assume.
can't make assumptions. I appreciate your vision. We have to focus more narrowly.
Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you for being here, appreciate it. Okay, is anyone else in the public wish to speak?
We do have a public person that signed in to speak on.
Perfect, okay.
And I apologize, I'm gonna butcher this because I can't read it.
No, and I respectfully withdraw my request to speak since he showed up, so. Thank you.
Back to order. I open the public hearing, blah, blah, blah. I close the public hearing. Okay, that moves us down to, is there a motion to approve? Please raise your hand.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2025-018.
I'll second it.
And June, Commissioner Pemberton seconds. We have a motion and a second. Would Commissioner Charbonneau like to comment?
Yeah, this CUP matches all the requirements. It's got all the parking. I think it's pretty easy fit for the area.
Commissioner Pemberton?
I agree.
Okay.
Those would be my comments.
Okay. Other commissioners? Comments? Good, okay. Well, no motions to amend. So, I find that the proposed fourplex in an R3 zone, subject to the conditions listed on page 47, satisfies all the requirements to approve this conditional use permit. The new addition will provide much-needed long-term rental housing for employees. Any further discussion before the vote? Deputy Clerk, would you please call for the vote?
Voting on Resolution 2025-018, Hubbard,
Yes.
Pemberton,
Yes.
Verhey,
Yes.
Charbonneau,
Yes.
and Chair Griswold.
Yes.
This resolution has been approved.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is unfinished business. There is none. Next is new business. Thank you both for coming. There are no resolutions, but under new business is a discussion on building height, starting on page 59 of the packet. Administration, would you please give an overview?
Yes, thank you, Chair Griswold. So after multiple work sessions on the topic of raising building height in Seward, we just wanted to have one last discussion item today to see if the commission could hopefully provide enough direction for our department to come back at the June meeting with an ordinance recommendation for council. And so in the packet, you'll notice 2 resolution options for raising the building height in Seward. And one thing I want to make clear is please don't view these 2 resolutions as the only 2 options moving forward. These resolutions more reflect the spectrum of the conversations that the commission has been having with that first resolution in the packet, option 1, outlining the more liberal changes the commission has been discussing that would arguably be more developmentally friendly while also having the larger impact on the view shed, where the option 2 resolution would keep things closest to how the current code is and protect more of the view shed while still opening up some development opportunities. And so I'll kind of quickly just run through those resolutions real quick. So on page 61, you've got option 1. And so for both of the options, or for any option that we would come forward with, for letter B, the building height definition, this would be the new building height definition. The purpose of building height standards is to help maintain the character of neighborhoods through balanced development and historic preservation, and to protect access to views, light, and privacy. I feel like there's a pretty good consensus on that definition at a previous work session, so feel free to let us know if there's any changes, but for any resolution that would be come forward, that would be the new definition of building height. And then under this one, for B1, this would be a change. This would be the conditional height increase, and so this would allow a true 4-story building to be allowed, which we've set at 48 feet maximum. And there would be certain areas of town that the commission had discussed that they would be okay allowing this. And so on this side of the bay, the west side of the bay, that property would have to be north of Hemlock Avenue, south of DeGraff Road, east of Spruce Street, and west of the Seward Highway. And if you look at A, 2, and 3, those were put in there to showcase on the east side of the bay where it would be allowed. But there was a little bit of confusion about the platting of Nash Road, but essentially we would take out that item 3, Roman numeral 3, because if we just stay east of Nash Road, that would kind of clarify that well enough, we believe. And so those would be the locations. And then for B, the proposed development must be an allowed use with the underlying zoning district. And so if it was just that, essentially any type of development that would be allowed currently in a zoning district would be eligible to go up to 48 feet in those specific locations with an approved CUP. And then if you go to page 63, the maximum building height would be changed to 38 feet across the board, and I think we've gotten enough feedback that that would be needed to build a true 3-story building with today's building standards. And so that would be across the board, and then the 48 feet allowance with the CUP in the areas that were mentioned previously. And so then if you go to option 2, you got the building height definition is the same. The conditional height increase, all the The 48-foot, the locations are the same. The big difference here is if you want to be more targeted with the development type that you would allow with a CUP. So letter C is added to this one, where the structure must be a multifamily dwelling, condo, townhomes, no smaller than 2 bedrooms, or a hotel or a multi-use building that incorporates commercial and residential uses. And so if the commission feels like they want to be more targeted where they would allow a true 4-story building, we kind of felt these were the uses that the commission had been discussing. And then on page 67, when you look at maximum building height, you see that there's a 34 or 38 foot maximum building height, and that was based on the conversations the commission had about maintaining that 34-foot height here in like the historic downtown area. So if you look at notes 9 and 10, essentially what we came up with is, so anything essentially, we would have to clean up, I think, a little bit of the wording in note 10, but essentially anything south of A Street on the west side of the bay would maintain at 34 feet, and then 38 feet would be anything north of A Street and on the east side of the bay, with the allowance for a 48-foot building with a CUP, depending on the type of use that you would want to go with it. And so, so those are, and what I meant earlier by saying don't view it as one or the other, because you can pull different aspects of what you might like from option 1 and versus option 2. And so I think you can have like intentional conversations about each specific item, and we'll do the legwork to kind of compile where you landed on, and then bring that back for a vote. And so I do want to thank all the people who've reached out to our office or attended previous work sessions to provide feedback on this issue. I know we had a few developers from the hotel industry attend several of our early work sessions, and then it was nice to have Robbie Williams speak to the commission on the multifamily development side of the equation. And we haven't had much feedback on the commercial development side, outside just having kind of multiple conversations in our office about leaving the potential open for that mixed use complex with the potential like commercial on the first floor and apartments on the second, third, or fourth floor. So that's why that mixed use was in there. And so, yeah, and I think the chair has the specific topics outlined based on the conversation, so I'll turn it over to Chair Griswold for facilitating that conversation.
Any questions for administration before we begin discussion?
I do. Option 2, you said multi-use, multi-commercial, or whatever. Right now, that area is identified as just strictly industrial, so, correct? So at what point would that, if this goes, if this is noted, then by default does the zoning change?
The zoning would not change. The use would still need to be allowed in the zoning district on the land uses allowed table.
Zoning could change.
The code, yeah, and so if it's not currently allowed based on the zoning district, this would just leave up the option for the zoning change to allow these types of development.
Well, I guess what I was concerned about, if people just started doing industrial development over there, again, is this conditional use? It would be a conditional use permit needed for these type of uses?
For the conditional use would be, so I think the commission is going to have a conversation about where they want that the true 3-story, 38-foot building height to be. And so wherever it lands on that, essentially any land use allowed in the land use table, you would go by that. So if it has a conditional use permit required, then they would need that. If it's allowed outright, you would not need a CUP for anything under that 38 or 34 foot. However, if you wanted to go above 38 feet to maximum 48 feet, then you would need a conditional use permit based on the use that you would basically decide you want to recommend to council. You could leave it open to all land uses within a specific zoning district, or be more targeted with the housing, hotel, mixed use.
Well, the 48 feet was specifically, is noted, identified here, for example, over at the SMIC area and east of Betty Cato Drive, or, I'm sorry, Nash Road. So, again, it's industrial, so would it get all these other uses are there or considered if we employ that? So, is it
Pardon me, but I think if this went forward the way, if we change this, and I think what you're kind of getting at is, that is industrial right now.
Right.
And are you concerned about these particular items being built in industrial? Because if this goes through, if we change stuff, that'll leave, odds are, if things do get built, the zoning will need to be changed later. It won't necessarily stay industrial. If somebody's gonna build homes in it, we change the zoning and then utilize the extra height to build something in that.
Yeah, you got, I mean, with the notations here, you got a lot going on. It could be auto commercial, it could be
Yeah, so the
urban
zoning-
residential, it could be.
Yeah, we're giving the options for somebody to build higher, but they would have to change the zoning for a lot of those things to actually happen. Because you couldn't build the commercial building, you couldn't do certain things in the industrial. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, I'm just concerned
We would
about-
change it later, zoning.
Okay, well, I just get concerned about having industrial intermixed with, all these other, townhomes and dwellings and, commercial residential uses and things like that, that wouldn't be compatible with an industrial zone area.
True, but
Commissioner Hubbard, if I may, so this, let's say you go with option 2, which has in the 48-foot areas, it restricts the uses to those types of dwellings.
Right, which is not industrial,
Right.
clearly.
So since those are not allowed in industrial, they wouldn't be allowed even with this code change, because the use foremost has to be allowed in that zoning district before someone could even request for a CUP to build a multifamily dwelling and go to 48 feet. So there'd be boxes they have to check off first. They look at, okay, is a multifamily dwelling allowed in this zoning district? Nope. Well, then it just stops right there. If it's yes, then we go next to, well, are you in the zone that will allow you to go up to 48 feet?
Okay, well, this is specifically for a 48-foot structure, is what these uses are.
yeah,
But it still has to be allowed in the zoning district that it lies in.
Yeah, and industrial allows this, right?
No.
It doesn't,
And
so I
yeah.
guess I got the cart and the horse, I'm trying to figure out which is which.
So you're kind of just leaving the potential open for residential development in an industrial area, but it wouldn't be developed in an industrial area. It would be changed to a residential area before it would be allowed, meaning that it would no longer be an industrial zoning district.
But it would be next to an industrial zoning district. Is that what you're
Potentially.
saying?
maybe. What we're
That would
looking
get
at is
messy.
not the zoning.
Yeah.
We're not looking at what these are and we're looking at the height of changing height for particular areas to have the ability to build different things in them. And if you want to build those things, you would have to change the zoning at some point.
If you want to build a 48-foot structure, it's got to be one of these types. But if you want to build a 36-foot structure, it could be, or a 38-foot structure, it can be an industrial. It could be a boatyard, it could be whatever. Yes.
That's the way it is now.
Yeah.
That's the way it
That's
is
the
now. It's just 34 feet instead of 38 feet.
Right.
Would you like to go through these differences and discuss them and give guidance to staff? So I think an easy one would be, would you agree that we should change the location to simply say to the east side of Nash Road?
Yes, because we had some issue
Yes.
with Nash Road and
Right.
it clarifies things. So we'll
Really
do that one.
simplifies it.
Yes.
Yes, just get rid of the Betty Cato thing. and
Right,
straighten
it's
it
so
out.
complicated.
Yeah, okay.
So that would be a really simple change to clarify things. Do we agree on that?
Go ahead and take it.
And then, we would like to know, how about we want to maintain 34 feet building height? This is not with the CUP, just, do we want to change the development requirements for A Street South shall remain 34 feet, and north of A Street, throughout the rest of city limits would be 38 feet.
I would like to agree with that because a true 3-story, we've heard that would be very useful, and I think that's a good idea. Downtown, south of A Street, I think we should keep 34 because it keeps the charm, it keeps the view shed, keeps downtown the small, romantic kind of town that is. But also the lots down here that are open large enough to do something are very few, so we're not really losing much of anything. We're gaining by making 38 north of A because there is a lot more potential out there for a true 3-story apartment complex or a hotel or a condo or something like that.
I would say no on that actually, and I would vote for the least restrictive.
Let's just talk about each point and not jump to the two stated options. So you would like to have.
Well, again, he said it's a blend of option 1 or 2, so you could blend them together.
You can, but so just to clarify, Rhonda, you would not like A Street South to be only 34 feet. You would like throughout the whole city limits, 38 feet maximum height, unless it's a CUP.
Except, I do have a condition. I would make Harbor Commercial 24 feet along 4th Avenue and to the west side or the east side of 4th Avenue and Port.
Okay, let's write that down. So 24 feet from in Harbor Commercial.
Yeah.
Everywhere in Harbor Commercial.
On the east side.
East side of 3rd,
4th.
east side of 4th.
And along Port Avenue, which
And
runs east and west. So that would be
south side of Port?
Yeah.
South of Port. And then what would be the lower boundary? B Street? Is that Harbor Commercial?
Well, first off, before you designate an area, that area is already designated lower. So we just have to keep it.
Just part of it.
So you're saying you want to enlarge that?
Trying to expand.
Okay, I just want to, because it is already,
Right,
I don't want to lose what is already 24.
correct.
Okay, so
I'm
you
just talking about
want to
expanding
enlarge
it.
Okay.
That would also create a lot of non-conforming structures, because everybody's in.
They're all there
Ghostbuster.
already. That's on the east side,
Let's
or
hear
the west
from-
side. That's on the west, I'm talking just on the east side.
East side of,
I'll get my east one.
Hotel
East side of 4th
360
Avenue.
is taller than 26.
Yep, it is.
I think King of George's first building is higher than 26. Some of the yacht club buildings. It would create non-conformities. Go ahead.
I was just clarifying, it is 26. Is
26.
that-
Okay.
26 feet.
26.
Okay.
So, Rhonda, which spots are you trying to, which empty lots are you trying to maintain at that lower level? Are there empty lots there that need to be protected, or view sheds that need to be protected by potential building sites? Because it's pretty
there's-
built up right there.
There's one on the corner, and then you go on to, you go on to Port Avenue, and you have the parking lot, when you're going by Icicle, and you have that stuff going on there. And yeah, some of those buildings are definitely over 24 feet. Then you've got,
26.
or 26, and then you've got the parking lot, and I don't know if there's gonna be a structure going in there. It has the opportunity to do that. I think there's the Coast Guard is there, the Coast Guard building, but it's not very high, but whatever they may be putting in there. And then it takes over by the railroad.
Director Munich, do we have a map that goes just to the north of this map?
We should try not to try to limit our non-conforming buildings. We don't want to create problems.
Right, just to help us visualize the boundaries of Harbor Commercial. They're such nice maps. If there is one, I don't know.
It's a map, it's not a
It's not a zoning map. Do you think there is a zoning map that goes there, or?
I think it zooms out, so you get that one.
I got it, okay.
Is this the last one?
Of course.
Just so you can see here, it goes, this is for, it goes right along here.
Report. And then, and down to the uplands.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
26 on the uplands right now.
I don't know if the best way if y'all wanna look at this, but just stick it in front of y'all.
We can look at it.
Hang on.
Yeah, we can.
Just it'll be sideways if it hangs. Small one.
Yeah, it is kind of small. Well, thanks for trying.
Yeah.
That is, small.
We should definitely, I don't think we should, that harbor obviously has to stay 26. You know, we're not gonna change that area to make that 38, but if we enlarge it, we're just gonna create other issues. And don't see that it's protecting, I don't wanna make a bunch of non-conforming lots. Actually, I think our rule is we're not supposed to make non-conforming lots.
Right, so
But
the
there's-
existing 26-foot
Would stay.
restriction was intended so that if you were walking along Fourth Avenue, you could see Mount Alice and, you know, the whole view above these lower buildings. And I think the horses left the barn for the rest of the harbor area. But I would like to preserve that requirement in the harbor commercial at 26 feet. I don't think expanding it would help. It's pretty much too late. And it would create a lot of non-conforming lots, buildings.
Well, there are some areas that still aren't developed. You don't have buildings on them.
But the majority of properties would be non-conforming.
Well, let's
Would you like
think
to,
about
would
that.
you like to chime in on that? What do you think?
Well, first of
Commissioner
all, I think
Pemberton?
from A Street down should be left at 34,
Okay.
because there's a lot of people that come through there and they take pictures and stuff from the streets. They don't always go down to the beach or go all the way up to First to take pictures. They'll be walking down the streets on the sidewalk and they'll be taking pictures and,
Mhm.
no, we like that.
Mhm.
And then secondly, I think with what you're talking about, Rhonda, I understand your concerns. And it is 26 feet, right?
Mhm.
That's it.
Just a small
And
section.
that's already what that it does cover where Rhonda's talking about, right?
No, it doesn't.
No?
It's just one area.
It's where the harbor master office is. That's low. Those
Uh-huh.
little shops are less than 26 feet. It wraps around to the uplands on the north half of the uplands.
So it's not from
It's 26
KFT or Kenai Road Stores.
Yeah.
It's not from KFT on, because
So-
KFT isn't part of it, right?
Correct. KFT is not part of it. So south of KFT, then we have those little shops in the harbor master's building. And it wraps
I
around.
think we need to keep the little shops at what they're at.
Well, I'm also thinking that when those shops get more dilapidated, they're gonna get replaced. The J-Dog building may get replaced. Some of those areas are gonna get replaced. And if we don't have a height restriction now, they're gonna end up going up to 38 feet or 48 feet.
So if we
or
keep them
30 feet.
if we keep that at 26.
Let's
Could I
hear
just
from
clarify the
Chris.
boundaries?
Pardon me?
I just wanted to clarify those
Okay,
boundaries.
Okay.
So it's from Harbor 360, so the J float there, which is the southern boundary of Harbor 360, down to the South Harbor Uplands, which is like the Mariners Memorial, and where people can drive their boats down into the water there. So that's the northern limit is Harbor 360, southern limit is the South Harbor Uplands, that parking lot area.
So that's all 26 feet.
All 26 feet, yep, and everything, of course, east of 4th Avenue, so.
Thank you.
But do we have consensus on this? That we'd like to keep that at 26 feet and not expand it? We have almost consensus.
I mean, I'm all for making things short, but I don't want to make non-conforming lots. It's going to cause too many problems later, and that is almost all of that downtown. And like Carol said, somebody should have done it 26 long ago before they even put that stuff in. And I don't want to make that hotel and other areas non-conforming. Part of our job is to get rid of non-conforming.
So, what's wrong?
So they would
What's
be-
wrong with it being non-conforming? Because it still can function. It's still in business. We're not telling it to go out of business.
Yeah, but part of our job is to reduce non-conforming zoning within the city, not create it. It's creating a problem. We're trying to solve that problem. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Administration?
I mean, non-conforming, I would say, is not ideal for a business or a property owner. If there ever, I mean, you can make repairs on it, but if ever more than 50% of it was destroyed, you would have to then conform to the current code. So,
Is that with sale, if it was sold to another party too?
no.
No, that, it wouldn't be that case.
That fire,
No.
if that hotel had a fire and half of it was damaged, they'd have to tear the whole thing down and make it 26 feet. You couldn't build back.
Because the intent would be to bring non-conforming structures, uses, and lots into conformity. That would be a great burden on the existing
Can you
businesses.
make a provision where the ones that are existing get a pass?
The non-conforming is the pass.
Yep.
Yeah, we want to stay away from non-conforming.
Right.
It causes too many problems later for other people.
I appreciate your efforts, but I can't support it.
Yeah.
Okay, so does the commission agree that we should retain 34 feet from A Street South and 38 feet for the rest,
Minus the 26.
minus the 26 feet?
Yes.
I feel torn about this.
Uh-huh.
I don't know, 4 feet is, or 6 feet, but no, it's 4 feet. More is just not that significant, and it could make a big difference on someone building. And we do have spaces here, so
You know,
I know there's been a lot of discussion without me. I know there was a lot of discussion
There was.
without me.
You're
I
right.
watched.
It's not that much, but
Yeah.
downtown, when your view or your sunshine, it is a lot. And keep in mind that 4 feet is just the mean roof.
Yeah.
So you're looking at more than 4 feet. And north of A, there's a lot more potential for building, but when you get down here, this
it's
is
tighter.
the charm in town, and there are
For
only
sure.
a few lots. We're not impacting that much down here, and I would argue that the small amount we are impacting is outweighed by all of the homes that are down here that have the potential to lose view or sunshine by that extra bit. Because 4 feet on a yard when the sun goes behind something is
I
a big
know.
deal.
I've made the spring stretches. Oh.
It's interesting, when I think of tall buildings in this area, it's tall, 3 stories. The Best Western down there, the Edgewater, oh, those are tall. Glacier View Apartments, that's tall. The Academy, Culinary Academy, 3 stories, that's tall. Compared to most of the other buildings, which are probably 20 feet, 2.5 story is a pretty typical building, a home, 1.5 stories. So I think it is a pretty significant difference to think of what I think of as tall buildings in the downtown going going up even higher. Plus, they're allowed the commercial buildings, the elevator shaft, and whatever structures they're allowed to go even higher. So I would support retaining 34 feet from A Street South and 38 feet for the whole rest of the town. I think that's a pretty good compromise, and I think it allows a lot of potential for developments that are not as special as our historic downtown, where we also allow 30-foot lots, very small lots. So people are pretty dense down here. So we have Commissioner Pemberton agrees with that, Commissioner Charbonneau, and I. About Commissioner Hubbard, do you agree with that?
I'm gonna disagree with that.
And you'd prefer what?
Well-
Just to this point, 34 feet A Street South, 38 feet the rest of the town, rest of the city limits.
Yeah, I would take option.
It's not an option, but we
No,
can do
let's
whatever we
just
want.
discussing, yeah.
Could you
I'm
just
using
focus on
No, don't.
34 feet A Street South and 38 feet the rest of city limits?
I think what she's trying to say.
No, I want to go with option one, the first bullet point.
Read it, please.
It says, raises building height to 38 feet everywhere in sewer.
Now, are you okay with that being within the historic downtown area? Where the historic buildings are?
Historic buildings are, what do you mean, you're gonna build a perimeter around?
Well,
that?
I mean,
No,
if
because they're
something
talking about A Street and South of, so like all this downtown.
all of this right here. So
Yeah, where
this
we are.
historic area down along 4th Street and 3rd
Around
and right in
7,
here.
or the beach down there.
Yeah,
Constituents.
so keep in mind that these historic areas, if something happened, a larger, and that building was removed, a larger building that would typically not be a historic style and shadow everything else would be allowed there.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
Okay, so Commissioner Hubbard would prefer 38 feet everywhere. And how about you?
I agree.
Vanessa? Okay.
I wish we had more constituents. Would love more input.
Oh, we've had lots of input. Okay. I think we're going to just present that to you. Okay. The next question would be, for the 48-foot conditional use permit, do you agree that it should be that area with those boundaries? Dick Craft, Hemlock, Seward Highway, whatever the other one was, Spruce? Was it Spruce?
Yeah, Spruce.
Okay. And East Nash Road, east of Nash Road. Does that sound like a good place to go? We had a lot of discussion.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time on that.
Where would be appropriate?
Yeah.
We all concur? Okay.
Yeah.
And then another point is, should this conditional use permit be focused and only allowed for multifamily housing, motels, hotels, condos, townhouses, and not just anything?
I think we should put that in. It's less important to me than the 34 downtown, which I think obviously needs to stay 34. But I'm pushing for this because whenever well, not whenever, but for the last, I don't know how many years we've had meetings about housing issues, the businesses that came to speak to us were always saying, we need more family apartments or multiple rooms. They were looking for nurses, doctors, teachers with families or kids. And I just remember them saying over and over, 2 or more family places. So that's the only reason I'm sticking to this, because we're giving somebody, with this conditional use permit here, we're giving somebody the right to go up 10 more feet and get a whole nother story and make potentially a bunch more money. Now, I don't really always want to say what they can do with those spots, but since everybody's been telling me in these meetings that they want 2 rooms or more, if you get that benefit, that extra benefit, you should have to have the 2, because you could go 38 feet, 3-story, and do all your studios, like we've seen. Well, we haven't seen 38, but we've seen all studio places in town, like a couple of them, I think. So if we give you 10 more feet to make a little more extra money, then you should, give back to the town what people have been telling me they need. So that's why I'm sticking with it. But
We had a lot of input that housing is a very important goal. It's a priority from council. And we had input from developers who wanted to build multifamily housing and desired to go up to 48 feet. But we also had input from hotel owners who wanted to go 48 feet. So this clause, this point, would include hotels. We had no input from anybody else. So I would like to keep that clause. That's in there. So I got a nod from Commissioner Pemberton. What do you think, Vanessa? And I'm sorry, Commissioner Verhey?
So,
How about Hubbard?
I'm still in a quandary about what you're saying again, is if you're gonna put a 48-foot structure up there, it has to, these are the parameters.
yes.
So a 48 structure won't work for another, like a tanks or some other facility that is catering to the marine industry over there, or.
You mean like a fuel tank?
Yeah,
A tank farm?
yeah.
That would be a conditional use permit.
Or
no,
not just that, but just anything that's industrial that's going towards,
No. If you wanted to go higher with industrial, you'd have to get a variance like we gave long ago for a building.
no, I'm
that
talking
didn't
just
build.
48 feet. Or is that the condition for the 48 foot?
Yes.
Is it has to be this, it can't be
Yes.
anything else?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
That's what you're looking at. So it's kind of going to force, it will force that area to be rezoned.
Not necessarily, because it can still be used as an industrial. And in the past, we did give a variance for a tall industrial building over there. It didn't get built. They decided not to build it. It was on the corner. But an industrial zoning could request a variance for a higher.
I don't want it higher, I just want to know if it's going to be 48 feet, is it just going to be, these
It's
are the
gonna be-
conditions for 48 feet,
Yes.
nothing else? But they could build a 38-foot welding shop.
Yes.
Or they could, or something like that.
Right.
Mhm.
I just think that's really poor planning myself, to have a mishmash of uses like that.
Wait, where's the mismatch of uses?
In the industrial area, you're
It
gonna,
won't be industrial. You can't build housing in industrial.
well then, that's what I said, that you have to change the zoning.
No, we're not talking about the zoning. We're talking about the height.
I know.
If
but
they want
it
to
goes in
build that,
there.
they'd have to change the zoning.
If they,
You're getting off topic.
so if they come and they say, let me get this right,
Yes.
this is what you're saying? So if somebody comes in and says, I want to build an apartment complex across, what do I have to do? So they would have to come, they would have to put in to get something changed before they could ever build it, right?
If it was industrial, because you
If
can't
it-
have an apartment complex. in
If they were trying, if they were over there trying to build something in the industrial area. I think that's what I hear you saying, is you don't want to see housing in the industrial area.
Yeah, it just, it doesn't, it's not compatible.
Yeah, but that's what I mean, it would have to be changed, it would have to be
Right, the
completely
zone would have to
changed.
change. The zoning
Yeah.
is different
Mhm.
than, we're just talking about building heights
Yeah.
and
So
where they could potentially
even if it
be.
says that, it can't happen unless it's rezoned.
And the rezone would have to come before the commission. And we could deny it and say, no, you're right next to a chemical plant in the industrial zone, it would be incompatible. Or whatever, reasons
that's
would be
what I hear
presented,
saying.
pro and con.
Yeah, you could have a
Go
cold
ahead.
storage there, you could have a fish plant, part of a fish plant there, you could have a welding shop, you could have all the trades that are needed for ship repair
Right.
over there.
For sure.
And commission could decide that a rezone to residential purposes would not be suitable and deny it.
The what, the
And
commission?
deny it.
Commissioner
Because we're
Hubbard?
just doing what ifs, Go ahead.
Yeah, if I may, the zoning map behind you, although small, might show a little bit. So those two large tracts of land owned by the Lindsays north of Spring Creek, that's a good example of potentially you know, if they wanted to rezone the portion east of Nash Road to accommodate housing for the Coast Guard or for the prison or whatever. But those are far removed from the heavy industrial uses of SMIC, where that could be an appropriate place for a rezone. Anything, if the commission got a rezone application for property within SMIC, one, all of those properties are primarily owned by the city, and unlikely that the city would want to rezone any of those to something other than industrial. But if there was a privately owned property in the area that submitted a rezone, it would have to be greater than 1 acre in size. And then, like Chair Griswold has said, then the commission could deny that rezone by saying you're surrounded by industrial uses, residential is not appropriate here. So,
Okay. Thank you for that. Oh, here's my list. I guess I need you, Commissioner Hubbard. 4 commissioners agree to the multifamily housing, motels, condos, townhomes, hotels.
Yeah, I just think the market will take care of itself on that, but you just need to have some good planning on where these things should be appropriate and compatible. So I don't think naming no smaller than 2 bedrooms or this or that, I don't think that is, I'm not sure if
It's
that's.
just multifamily.
Yeah, I just, yeah, think it could be multifamily and let the market confirm that. They'll figure it out. The demand is there, they'll build it.
So by including this condition, we are satisfying council's priority to focus and provide housing. So we do have limited land, and requiring this, I think, will encourage more housing to happen. Okay. Let's see. So those are, I believe, the main points, but let's just go back through here and look to make sure we're not missing anything.
I believe that's it.
So we did want to retain note 1, which was the 26-foot in the harbor
Yes.
area. And anything else different? There's lots of little moving pieces here that are very significant. So we crossed off the east of Nash Road and south of Betty Cato Avenue and just kept east of Nash Road.
Yeah, clean it up.
And we kept the proposed development must be an allowed use within the underlying zoning district. Anything else pop to mind? Do you think we covered all the differences in points?
Yeah.
Keeping us back there?
We got enough to work on there.
Great.
Fantastic.
Great, well, that's great. That represents a lot of work sessions and discussion. I think we have it. Should we move on?
Move on.
Everyone happy with that? Okay, next on the agenda is the work session topic for May 20th is parking. Would you like to give a little discussion about that? Or overview?
Yeah, we talked about trying to do some educational sessions for each work session, so we'll kind of theme it with the parking as well. I've started to look into, I thought it'd just be helpful to learn a little bit about the history of parking minimum requirements, and so I'm gonna, time allows, put together a short presentation just so you all have some historical context, so we have some historical context, and I think Courtney's gonna throw in at the end of that presentation just the history of Seward's parking minimum requirements, and so we have an idea of where that stems from, and then we'll just present what the current parking requirements are in code, and just start the discussion there of where we want to go. We can start broad and yeah, I haven't delved too much into what that might look like yet, but yeah, that'll be the theme of the evening, will be parking requirements.
And that's which day?
The 20th, May 20th.
Okay, I look forward to that.
At what time?
Next on the agenda is informational items and reports. The work session will be on Tuesday, May 20th at 6 p.m. here. And the next regular meeting will be on Tuesday, June 3rd at 7 p.m. here. Next on the agenda is final public comments. Would anyone in the audience wish to speak? Please approach the chair, state your name and inside or outside for the record, and you have 5 minutes.
John Weisel, outside city limits, listening in today. I just think that there's a lot of undeveloped land downtown, and when you talk about development, we're talking about 3 stories. So I don't think that it should be held back for someone trying to build 3 stories on one side of the road or versus the other. We're just trying to build 3 stories. It's I think that's a disadvantage, and I think it's disadvantaging a lot of undeveloped land, like half of Fifth Avenue. There's large tracts of land not even developed, and then people like myself that have dilapidated buildings that we're just trying to build new. I'm not pushing for another story, just want to keep it even and fair. It is, we've heard it from others, it's just how you build a 3-story building now. Helps greatly. The other one is, I think that you guys should really stay in bounds. The market will take care of itself. I mean, like, if we start putting requirements on the 4th story, what are we going to require next? How many parking spots they have to have? What type of window size they should have? If they should have a bike rack outside. I really think the market will take care of itself. It's already hard enough to develop in Seward, and I've worked with Robert on his project out there, taking a look at it. It's really hard to pencil. I'm like, when he came and met with me, a huge part of the conversation is, how can you build for this amount in this town? And we haven't even gotten to some of the requirements. So if you put more on there, that's going to be even harder for it to figure out. So yeah, I think making it less restrictive, and then again, I've said it before, but if you guys want to promote larger units in your next work session, I think you should really take a look at the parking requirements, because in mind, that project that I helped him look at out there, if you provide 2 to 3 bedroom units, you're gonna run out of parking before that thing even hits pencil to paper. So if you guys want to promote bigger units, you're gonna have to loosen up on your parking restrictions. It goes hand in hand. There's limited space, and yeah, I don't think many of these projects would fly just in the last 5 years. Cole's got 12-plex out there. If those were 2-bedroom units, yeah, they would rent, but he doesn't have enough parking. Tom Tugas's 10-plex, same thing. If those were all 2-bedroom units, absolutely they would rent. He doesn't have the parking. They maximize their buildings for the lot they have, but you can't get the parking. You won't get it. So it needs to loosen up if you want bigger units, because it just doesn't pencil. These are developers in Seward. I mean, like, these are the people that are actually building. Tom's definitely building in Seward. Cole's built in Seward. I plan on building inside city limits one day. I'm currently building outside, but needs to work with us a little bit. And I am working with other people trying to figure out how to pencils. I think the conversation's going really well, but I think if you put more restrictions, it's really going to stagnate and it's not going to get anywhere. And yeah, this is just from the little bit that I've spent here in about a year. And I think 4 feet for my project means a lot, and we're really close. We're really close on financing. We've spent a lot of money. But it would be a great consideration. And I've mentioned this before. My building has to go nightly. I've ran the numbers. If I had 4 units, possibly I could go monthly. But because of parking by 1 foot, I can't get that 4th unit. Without that 4th unit, I have to go where the money is. I have to go nightly. I'm speaking about my project on 5th. So that's just a first case scenario of parking. If you want more year-round apartments, it all combines. But anyways, that's mine. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Perfect. There is no one else in the audience, so we'll move on to administration and commission comments. Administration, do you have any comments?
I just want to thank everyone for a good meeting. I know the building height conversation, one of the few the commission has not always had consensus on, but I think the conversations still go really well to give us enough direction to bring something back to the table. Thanks, John, for coming in and speaking your mind. And so, yeah, I appreciate all that information. And then, yeah, on a lighter note, just wanted to share some fun things. Sports and Rec is doing some really cool things lately. The Pink Cheeks Triathlon, I participated for the first time on Saturday. Beautiful weather, and not to brag, but you're looking at the gold medalist in the adult relay division. And when I tell people that, they're often like, well, were you the only team? And I can confirm that we were not the only team. There were 2 teams, and we beat the other one. So, and Courtney and I, participate in the racquetball leagues, and really good turnout this year. They had like almost 30 people amongst the 3 divisions, and in the top skill division, the Gold League. Thursday evening, if you're bored, is the end of season tournament. There were 12 people in the league, and the top 4 go to the playoffs. So Courtney and I will be representing the city and participating in that. So, yeah, thanks for a good meeting.
Thank you. Courtney?
Yeah, no comments. Thank you as always for your work and effort and reading the packets and coming with good questions and discussions.
Thank you. Deputy Clerk?
Just to add to Munich's comment about what's going on this weekend, don't forget the bike rodeo is also this weekend for the little kids, and that it will be held here at City Hall, in the council chambers and outside, so.
What time does it start?
I think 11.
Yeah, I was gonna say not 10, but
10 or
somewhere in there.
I will look up real quick while you guys are.
Saturday morning.
Okay, let's go
What
on.
you guys are going on now.
Commissioners, please raise your hand. Commissioner Charbonneau?
As always, thank administration for all their help, and also congratulations on your sports achievements. I'd like to thank the public that was here, but they're not here anymore. They came out for all the topics that they were involved in, and it's nice to always have them come out. And thank you guys for showing up.
Commissioner Pemberton? Did you have your hand raised?
Yeah, I just wanted to tell everybody thank you, including those that were here before. And please come and talk to us some more.
Yeah, thanks for a good meeting, even though we don't always agree, that's okay, because it's good to have a good, robust conversation about these things. And so I did want to say that I think I'm at my 1-year anniversary here this month of being on P&Z, and I'm pleased at how we've addressed a lot of the housing issues. We've done amendments on ADUs and DADUs. We've allowed density to increase where it's desired or approved for, and we've approved bunkhouse units, which is providing businesses places for their employees. And I will say though too that there's also businesses that have to buy homes for their employees, and that takes them off the market and creates kind of an uneven playing field for private entities and families that are trying to buy. And so we just have to kind of understand if they are using them for dorm rooms or what. And so we just think it's important to be aware that that we have that issue. And it's I'm not blaming anybody or trying to catch anybody on anything, but it's just the condition of our seasonal economy and Seward. I really appreciate and understand the cost of building in Seward. It's tough. I don't know if you had tuned into the Borough Assembly meeting that took place a couple weeks ago, and the mayor was trying to put forth a proposal to go to the state to control the property value increases that we have to 5%. And it got voted down. I don't know why. I thought it was a good start, but regardless of that, there's an entity, you're probably familiar with the Board of Equalization, where they determine what the property assessments are for Seward, and Seward's very high. It's a lot. It costs a lot to live here, and I would just encourage people to. And our assessments are higher, and the borough was actually $10 million over on their budget income for assessments, and so I just think that we need to be aware of that and maybe advocate to the borough that they need to look at Seward differently, and we should. That our cost of living is hard. We are lacking. We don't have much space. Plus, it's just we don't have natural gas, and it's just expensive. And so, I just encourage us and the public to be aware of that and try to encourage the borough to really help us look at that and maybe look at Seward as maybe a different, doing some creative things for our assessment and lowering our costs here. So. With that, I appreciate the staff and putting up with us here, and I also appreciate public coming out and attending and enlightening us on areas we needed to be paying attention to, and that's all. Okay. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Muirhead.
Well, yeah, glad to be back around the dais. Good meeting.
Thank you.
Good to have you back.
Yes. I was just going to say that. I welcome you back. I'd like to wish former Executive Assistant Clara Brown all the best. It was a pleasure to work with her. And I thank the administration for the helpful photos of the CUP site and for the upcoming training on parking. That just sounds so interesting. These little mini trainings, I think, are very successful and appreciated by the commission as well as the public. It's really nice. And I would like to thank the public for attending and speaking. We always appreciate input. And the Deputy City Clerk for being here, keeping track of everything. And then I have a little announcement here. Council members Wells and Kreitz have requested a special meeting to discuss my removal from the Planning and Zoning Commission. If council decides that circumstances warrant my removal, this will be my last regular meeting as commissioner and chair. I apologize to those I have inadvertently offended. I am not perfect, but I do try hard to perform my duties. I have learned a lot since I was appointed last April, and I appreciate the feedback from my colleagues that enables me to do a better job. It has been an honor to serve with the commissioners and staff. Thank you. And now, I wish everyone a good evening. The meeting is adjourned at 8:39 p.m.